vaccine shortage gets worse by the day. And amidst the sharp surge in Karnataka, the state worst affected in the last 24 hours in terms of additional active cases and deaths, there is a major vaccine crunch again. Unable to get their jabs in Bengaluru, citizens are even booking slots in neighboring districts to somehow or the other get a vaccine shot. In a moment, we'll be joined by Kiran Majumdar-Shaw on the vaccine question. But first, my colleague Nagarjun Dwarkanath has this report.
Karnataka is facing severe vaccine shortage. Long lines, hours of waiting are a common sight at vaccination centers. Bengaluru too is facing a severe shortage of vaccine supplies. More and more Bengalurians, primarily in the 18 to 44 age group, are now heading to nearby districts for inoculation. There are only 4 to 5 government hospital centers allotted for first dose for 18 to 44 and an average of 150 jabs per day. With no option left, vaccine migration has begun in the city.
ಗುಡಿಬಂಡೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಗೆ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಬಂದಿರೋದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಜನ, ಓನ್ಲಿ 4-5 ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಇನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಂದ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಥರ ಆದರೆ ಇದು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆಯೂ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸೇರಲಿ ಅಂತ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು. ಇವಾಗಲೇ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ ಶಾರ್ಟೇಜ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಒಂದು 3.5 ಲಕ್ಷ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ.
The skewed digital divide is the main reason. While tech-savvy Bengalurians with laptops and smartphones end up getting vaccine slots 70 to 100 kilometers away. The locals who walk in are being sent back as the slots are full.
The CoWIN site has APIs publicly available, and there are many people who have used these APIs to alert other people that slots have opened up. So the moment 100 vaccination slots are open up for a PIN code, everyone gets an alert on these groups and books them instantaneously. So 100 slots get booked in like 10-20 seconds. And I think the government needs to fix this and make the distribution of vaccine more equitable.
ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡೀ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ನೋಂದಣಿ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಆಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ನೋಂದಣಿ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಆಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಇಡೀ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ?
The government is yet to act on the burden being faced by vaccine centers in rural areas. Deputy Chief Minister Ashwath Narayan said he would verify the report immediately.
Once the first come first serve basis, the whoever is reserved or booked it on online, the first come first basis whoever is registered online, they get the priority. We can verify whether it has been allocated to different district. The people from Bangalore go to different places. We need to verify.
People from Bangalore are also keen on taking vaccine in rural areas because that will allow them to travel the 70-80 kilometer distance and they can enjoy the drive during the lockdown. Government also has allowed this vaccine travel with bare minimal proof. Nagarjun Dwarkanath for India Today.
And joining me now is a very special guest. I'm joined by Dr. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, chairperson and founder of Biocon. Appreciate your joining us, Dr. Shaw, and thank you very much for flagging off the critical concern over shortage of vaccines in your tweet this morning. The answer to the question you're posing, why there is a vaccine shortage, is being answered by the government, at least unofficially, by saying, look, we placed our last order on the 28th of April for about 160 million doses of Covaxin and Covishield. You've got to be a little patient. How do you respond to that?
Well, you know, Rajdeep, what really concerns me is the declining pace and rate of vaccination. I also know that many parts of the country where vaccination centers are deploying vaccines are actually not doing it very efficiently. So while some vaccination centers are running out of vaccines, others seem to not be fulfilling their quotas. So I think there is something going wrong somewhere, and we need to basically make sure that we address this whole vaccine deployment effort in a very pragmatic and urgent way. I, for one, believe that there needs to be far greater transparency in the way vaccines are being supplied to state governments and being deployed by the states. Because I think that we need a daily dashboard of vaccinations across the country. Otherwise, it's like a suspense movie. We really don't know when we are going to get the vaccines and where they are going to be deployed.
Where do you see the bottleneck? Where do you see the bottleneck? Is it in the fact that we placed our firm orders for these vaccines late? We didn't expand our capacity early enough, didn't bring in more vaccines? Where do you see the problem at the moment that is resulting in this clear shortage of vaccines?
If what you say is true, that the government has only placed its order in late April, I find a problem with that. Why is it that we have not placed a firm vaccine order right from January when when the vaccine was approved? And, why have we not given a schedule of supplies to both the vaccine companies and to other vaccines that are going to be approved in the future? Why is it that there is such a weakness in our logistics and planning, which seems to be the problem? We cannot be placing orders in April and saying, be patient. Why have we not placed those orders way back in January?
The other concern, of course, is that while we have placed these orders in late April, we decided to expand our vaccine program to include those between 18 and 45 to May 1st. And, we seem to have placed the cart before the horse. To that extent, do you believe there is now a need to go back to what our original plan was? First, vaccinate everyone over the age of 45 double dose, then move to 18 to 45? Because at the moment, in the 18 to 45 group, many states are throwing up their hands and saying, we don't have enough vaccines. So there seems to be a lack of, as you said, planning, logistics, center-state coordination. How do you fix it? The question is, how do you fix the problem now?
Rajdeep, I've always believed in decentralization. Let the states decide how they wish to vaccinate their populations. I think by having a central command and control in terms of how we vaccinate our people is not working. I think it needs to be based on a number of issues and a number of factors. For instance, states which have a very high level of COVID infections need to look at it differently. States where they have a very young working population needs to look at it differently. States that have already vaccinated a large number of people need to look at it differently. Let the states decide. I think, Maharashtra is an excellent example of how at a state level they've come out with a model that's working. So I think every state needs to work out what works best for itself. One size fits all is not the solution for a country like India that is so diverse, both in terms of the density of population, its behavioral and cultural aspects, and many other parts of its socio-economic structure. So I just think that let each state be given a certain number of vaccines and let them decide how they want to deploy it.
But there also there is a problem, Dr. Shaw, because you gave the example of Maharashtra. No, sure, but even the Maharashtra health minister tells me that they're struggling to get in enough vaccines. They are now being asked that at least half the vaccine you've got to directly deal with Serum Institute of Bharat Biotech. Now, not all state governments are equipped to sign those contracts fast enough, and all of this is being done at a time when infections are rising. So you have had in many states rising infections and a slowing down of vaccination. So even with decentralization, many states fear that they are not in a position to directly negotiate with Serum Institute and Bharat Biotech to get the vaccines fast enough or have the monies and the pricing policy in place. You've got different private hospitals now charging different rates, for example, for vaccines. So there appears to be a complete element of confusion at the moment.
So Rajdeep, I've always maintained that we should not have made this whole vaccine pricing so complex. I think there should have been one price for government and one price for the private sector. And, right now the government could have been the major procurer of vaccines. A very small percentage could have been allocated for the private sector. And I think everything could have been, managed. But right now, you're right. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of chaos. There's panic and anxiety, which is actually not good for what we're trying to do to bring it under control.
So do you see this as a management crisis? Do you see this as a logistical management crisis? Or do you see this as a crisis of planning? or you know, that we have too much government, as some people say, and too little governance, and therefore there isn't any coordination of the kind we need for a logistical exercise like vaccine, which we've been very successful in the past with our various vaccination programs that we've done for TB, for smallpox, for other infectious diseases in this country.
Well, it's all of the above factors, Rajdeep, and I think my main concern is, you know, we need to really act fast. We need to harmonize. We need to make sure that the states are given the freedom and flexibility to deal with certain crises issues. And I think vaccination is certainly one of them. And I think if the center just basically makes sure that a certain quantum of vaccines is supplied to each state, then let the states decide how they want to deploy them. And I, for one, believe that we need much more transparency in what we are doing across the country. We want to know how many vaccines have been supplied to the center and where have all these vaccines gone. We really don't have much visibility on that. Secondly, you're right. I mean, to allow each state to fend for itself in terms of vaccine procurement is a very complex issue. I think if the central government had decided that they were going to procure the vaccines for on behalf of state governments, that would have been simpler. But even if they had kept it at the same price and they had told each state to basically procure vaccines, that would also have been simpler. And as I said, if they could have decided on a small quantum for the private sector and the rest for deployment within the government system, it would have been a simpler logistical exercise.
No, absolutely. You know, many believe, like, you know, if we can conduct elections on such a large scale and conduct successful vaccination programs in the past, we can do this as well. The other worry, and this is where I want to bring you in as a business person, is we've got just two manufacturers at the moment, and the entire reliance largely is on Covaxin and Covishield. We hope that Sputnik 5 will be available later this month or early June, but still not enough to spread the net. Now, many are suggesting compulsory licensing so that you unleash the potential of India's pharma sector to a much greater extent. Do you believe that has to be done like yesterday, like right now?
I don't agree with that perception or hypothesis, Rajdeep, because people don't understand that it is not compulsory licensing that is coming in the way of expanding vaccine production. It is really the access to raw materials and consumables that is preventing these companies from ramping up their production. Today, even if these companies were to basically give their technologies to other companies, it takes a year before you can even ramp up and produce vaccines in the way we want. So there's no question of that. I think let's stray away from compulsory licenses, because it is actually, taking the debate away from the real issue. The real issue is vaccine production and expanding the capacity, and and patents are not getting in the way. So let me be very honest about that. I don't think people understand the complexity of making vaccines, and it is not as trivial as people make it to be. So unless you're a vaccine manufacturer, unless you know what sterile manufacturing is, you cannot just sort of, spread the net by saying, okay, I'm going to give compulsory licenses to 10 companies. Why Sputnik came here and they were willing to give licenses to anybody who could make the Sputnik vaccine? How many takers were there?
But you know, there is a worry of vaccine inequity, that the developed nations are going to corner and already begun to corner a majority of the vaccine that are available today in the market, and that will leave countries like India, which ironically has been a vaccine manufacturer, left behind. Do you agree with that? Do you fear that?
No, not in India's context. We are the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world, and we cannot hide behind those kind of comments, because India has the ability to make its own vaccines. And I think from that point of view, whilst other LMIC countries may be facing this kind of unfair, inaccessibility to vaccines, India cannot claim that.
But you know, India is now in a situation where we've exported vaccines to more than 70 countries in the month of March, even as now we are struggling to keep up with the with the demand. So in hindsight, and I know hindsight is always easier, should we have planned much better, much earlier, known the size of the issue? Look at the way United States and the UK, smaller countries, have gone ahead with their vaccination program. Are there lessons that we can still learn and course correct?
Well, we have course corrected, Rajdeep. I mean, in the early days, we had contractual obligations and the government thought that it's okay to export these vaccines. But now we know that because of our own second wave, there's no way we can afford to export anymore. So I don't think there's a question of lessons learned. I just think we need to course correct and move on.
In conclusion, where would you therefore start? When you say you would move on, where would you start? If you were put in charge of the COVID vaccine task force, and let me be very honest, ma'am, one of the problems many people say is that the people at the top of the COVID vaccine task force have failed. Many of them bureaucrats have simply failed the system. Where would you start? If you were put in charge today of India's vaccine program, where would you start?
Well, I'm not saying it's an easy task, but just using some common sense, I would say that we do need to decentralize. We do need to fix this inequity pricing between the center and state. And we do need to let the states have flexibility to deploy their vaccines the way they deem fit. Those are the ways I would do it. And more than anything else, I really would like transparency in vaccine deployment. A daily dashboard of vaccines procured and vaccines deployed will actually, make everyone, much more calm than they are today. Today, there's panic, Rajdeep. That's why I'm worried.
And when you say daily dashboard, I presume you mean for the states, like your home state of Karnataka and one at the center. Every district, every city, every village really needs to know when they are getting their vaccines in some kind of timeline. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think you need that. I think the center needs to say how many vaccines were deployed to which state. And then the state needs to tell their people, where these vaccines have gone to, which vaccination centers, how many vaccines have gone, and keep a daily count of how many people have been vaccinated with those vaccines.
Well, I think you've hit the nail very hard on the head. I'm glad you've raised this. Absolutely, ma'am. I think you've hit the nail, as I said, very hard on the head. I hope someone wakes up sooner rather than later. But thank you very much for joining in that chorus, asking for a wake-up call on vaccine transparency. Dr. Kiran Majumdar Shaw, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.